YouTube, what it do, man? It's your boy Benji, and we are back in between the ropes. This is another episode of WWE Raw that we just came across, and it's only right that I drop y'all my review because we fan. If I have not checked yet, I'm going to check. Okay, I checked. I see it. I see what y'all trying to tell me. We right there on the cusp, literally $7.99 from 800. So what y'all trying to tell me? Y'all trying to tell me, y'all, I'm a hoe? What y'all trying to say to me? Alright, I get it. I gotta level up. We gotta do more content. Alright, cool. Alright, bet. Next goal is 1,000. We gonna get up there, man. I thought I was gonna come on this video and be able to celebrate with y'all, throw a party, throw a fiesta. But I see how y'all want to do me. I'm just gonna talk about the show. So my boy is back. Feeling refreshed off his long hiatus, our tribal chief returns. But if you really think about it, his return was one that didn't quite give the weight that was supposed to give last week. And it's possibly because I was not at the show. Maybe had I been there, it would have been a little more lit. But at the end of the day, he opens the show tonight. The crowd in Dallas, Texas acknowledges our tribal chief. But before this dude gets to speak, the Brons interrupt. Or really just Bronson Reed and Paul Heyman. I don't really know where Braun Breaker is, but I don't know where most of the roster is this show. We're going to talk about that later. But dude, even Roman can't shave this show. Paul Heyman is on the side of Bronson Reed and immediately starts lying. He asked the people to acknowledge the tribal thief. Why would they do that? This dude had stole Roman's shoes, wore them around his neck for a couple weeks, and he's still rocking shirts that say tribal thief. Dude, that was like literally when it was hot outside. I thought we were done with that a long time ago. He talks about how Bronson put Roman on a stretcher, which is something I guess we should care about. Bronson then grabs the mic and talks about how Alpha and Sifa, Roman's dad and uncle, were never carried out via stretcher, even though they worked in the industry for 40 plus years, and they were certainly looking down on him, ashamed. It's kind of a weird flex, but okay. Spall spends a little bit of the time trying to hold back Bronson Reed, and Roman just ends up spitting the real spill. I'm levels above you, as Roman says. And he ends up goading Bronson into the fight. Security come and break it up. Why are we getting a rematch? Like, obviously, Bronson is from Australia, so it makes sense that he gets the match on the card. And it's a good look for him to fight against Roman. But what is the incentive for Roman Reigns? Like, you returned last week to help your cousins out because they were getting beat down by the dude that took you out of commission for a few weeks. This big blob wants to rumble, even though he's already taken an L to Roman, and Roman took the shoes back. Why is this dude, Roman Reigns, more upset with Bronson than he would be with Seth? What about gold, championships? What does a W for Roman do in this scenario? Not much. A Bronson W would be amazing, but if you had to ask me, it would slow any hype for a Braun Breaker or Seth 1v1 match. So this has got to be some filler. It's going to end up in shenanigans. We quickly catch Asuka and KAIRI Sane backstage, and Asuka had scheduled a match for KAIRI to fight against Io, to which KAIRI's reluctant, of course. She still believes that Io could be a part of their family again, and Asuka ends up slapping her back into Planet Asuka and lets her know that she better win. Back in the ring, we got to see the man match up against MAXXINE, and a rematch that actually showed MAXXINE battling a little bit more confidently. Becky barely regarded her with any respect last time, yet this time was no joke. There were some amazing near falls, but strangely, MAXXINE tried to use the ropes to pin Becky in one of the attempts. Like, dude, I guess if you can't beat them, join them. Like, what in the world? That was a little strange, but in the end, it was Becky who tried to spend too much time gloating, that ended up costing herself the match, and surprisingly, MAXXINE wins. Good for her. This might develop into something. Maybe Becky will question herself. Who knows? I don't know what happened to AJ Lee. Sure, this is fine, whatever. We also see Roman Reigns backstage with the Usos. He's questioning Jimmy as to why he finds an issue with Jay taking Jay taking orders from the tribal chief. We don't get an answer, so I guess we'll find out later. I'm not sure if I'm experiencing deja vu because ROXXANE is fighting against LYRA. Again, Bayley's doing the whole split personality thing and asking for high fives as she accompanies LYRA to the ring. LYRA ends up taking her eye off the ball and attacked Raquel. And that ended up leading Mrs. ROXXANE to a DDT on the outside and then a Pop Rocks victory. I don't know where we're going with this though. This one's a little strange to me. CM Punk shows up to the arena and walks out to the ring and thanking the people for cheering for an AJ Lee return. He ends up vowing to get the title back from Seth once that dude is done with Cody. LA Knight shows up and then congratulates CM Punk for being a great husband. It got a little weird for me. I was kind of confused what direction he was headed in. He ended up transitioning that into the fact that Seth has not pinned LA Knight yet, while CM Punk has taken plenty of L's to Seth Rollins. Most recently at Clash in Paris, and wants to lose the title in the first place at SummerSlam after about 5 minutes of holding the championship. Jey Uso interrupts a stare down and talks about how he hasn't gotten the rematch yet. Yo, you know, every time Jey Uso gets a mic in front of him and starts talking, it's like he's drunk or something like that. It's like he's working profusely to try to remember what he's talking about. And like his mannerisms and all, it's just a little like, what are you talking about, bro? LA Knight ends up laughing at Jay's passion and mentions that Jay has already held the title, and that time came and went. He catches a super kick in the jaw mid-sentence from Jay after saying that Jay should focus on being a tag team, but he actually sucks at doing that. And he's actually right. When's the last time the Usos have done anything successful? Jimmy tries to hold Jay back from doing anything else, and CM Punk ends up seconding LA's sentiments and laughs about Jay being Little Roman. They end up fighting, and then Jay stands tall with his brother. Am I tripping, or is this show just plug and play when it comes to the storylines and matches? I realized something important, that there are very few characters with a unique identity in the WWE, and I have to admit that this has led to some of the really lackluster storylines that we're seeing. I mean, this is pretty similar to the KAIRI Sane storyline, just with different faces. The Usos will likely end up interfering with the Roman's match at Crown Jewel, and things will probably get pretty messy. Yeah, in EO's match versus KAIRI Sane ends up beating EO in a match that was kind of whatever. I mean, I probably had a little higher of an expectation for this match, but I don't really think the execution was there. I mean, Wade Baird mentioned that this was a match that is actually the first time that it occurred in the WWE landscape, as the only time that they fought each other was out in Japan. So this could have been built up a little bit more to be a little bit more of a spectacle, or much more of a moment. But whatever. Backstage, we see Paul Heyman running hypotheticals with Seth Rollins about what would happen if he were to lose to Cody at Crown Jewel. Paul says it's very likely that Seth Rollins could lose the locker room in the support of the Brons, and he will question why he chose Seth over Roman. Look, Paul is fake. We knew this. I think it would be more important to hear about why Seth would be insecure about losing. Why is he dreading losing so badly? What is Seth Rollins' psyche got after these beatdowns from Cody Rhodes? This could be a great scenario to tell about how Seth Rollins has been a perpetual number 2. He hasn't been able to get out of Roman's shadow. While he's been good, he just hasn't been great. In the end of the day, people that are regarding the uptick of the WWE, people are looking at faces like Roman Reigns. People are talking about Cody Rhodes recently, even though Seth Rollins has held gold on the other show for the last 2 and some change years. But nah, we're just getting, would you leave me if I lost? It's Paul Heyman. You get him how you lose him, bro. We got a 6-man tag match, and I guess the writers just gave up on the New Day, and the Viking Bros and American Made is nowhere to be seen. So we just made up a new tag team of AJ Styles and Dragon Lee. Add Penta Wire at it. Why not? Why not? The match was entertaining. There were plenty of high-flying leaps. And it actually ended in a way that I enjoyed. I will say that. Dom was loading up a 619 and then drops to the floor when he sees Rusev walking down the runway. Dude, that was hilarious. And then funnier, he runs out of the ring, grabs all his belts, and just takes off into the crowd. Like, he really leaves his boys for dead. Mid-move. Wait a minute. Was Dom the legal guy? Anyways, Jaden Madonna definitely felt the brunt of the AJ Styles clash and eats the pin. AJ then got on the mic and said that he doesn't need a story versus Cena and that they would just leave it all in the ring. This is actually terrible, horrible execution from WWE. If this is a match that John Cena clamored for. This is why you know that they actually have no idea what's going on. You had a year to plan for John Cena, and you could have revolved both shows around John Cena. You've done a horrible job about it, to the point where John Cena had to go and campaign on Twitter for matches that fans would like to see. So now you get the match versus AJ Styles, and you have 2 weeks to build up something meaningful, and you don't. Whatever. It is what it is. We'll just let it slide, John Cena. Our main event was CM Punk and LA Knight versus the Usos. I do like that we got to see tension build before the match. And then as soon as the bell rings between LA Knight and CM Punk, who are partners, there's a lot of dissension. But yeah, I mean, in regards to match quality, this is a bunch of old men tussling. It ends up ending after CM Punk hits the go to sleep. But LA Knight, interestingly enough, tags himself in order to steal the pin. Maybe I've gotten desensitized, but I expected there to be a bunch of shenanigans after that. But no, LA Knight just steals the pin, walks out, laughs, and then we get the credits. I've just accepted the fact that we're not going to use the majority of the people on this roster anymore. Where's Rhea? Why is she the biggest star? And we've probably seen maybe 20 minutes of TV time with this woman in the last 90 days. Has she already begun her vacation in Australia prior to the match this weekend? Likely. I will applaud the WWE for trying to drill home the two stories that seem to be the focal point of this episode. I will say there are multiple layers that could be unearthed in this whole feud with Punk and Knight and the Usos. Yeah, I mean, most of the roster must have just taken the week off. And at this point, I'm fearful for what I might see on Friday. Good show, but I mean, like I said, they attempted to try and flesh out some of these stories, but it just, again, like if the majority of the show revolved around these two storylines, yet we don't really get to dig into any nuance amongst a lot of these guys, other than possibly, I mean, from what's going on with Jey Uso and Roman Reigns, we just kind of see the confusion from Jimmy Uso's angle, which again I think could have been a lot better to talk about the other guys involved, but whatever. I think the layups are there. They didn't do a good job with it. I mean, this episode, I mean, I'll just be nice. It was we typically like to rate everything yay, nay, somewhere in the middle is okay. I'm gonna be nice. It was okay. It was passable. We're just gonna get on to the next episode, really. Y'all let me know what y'all thought about it in the comments below. Hit that sub button. We on Patreon getting litty. That's where a lot of the content's going. But preach.